Hey there, my name is Jonathan Auxier. I'm the author of The Night Gardener. I'm not sure I would say it's important so much as I would say it's awesome. I love reading children's books. That's the stuff that I read today. Those are my favorite books as an adult. They were my favorite books as a kid. So it's just something I really, really love. Why it's important, I don't know. It's important the same way understanding what childhood is and the feelings that we have when we're growing up and what it means to grow up. All that stuff's important, but really, fundamentally, I just really like stories, and I find my favorite stories are all about kids. There are so many different books that were inspirational to me. As I mentioned before, I love stories. I've loved stories my whole life. Some of the books I read were really great works of literature. I'm a giant fan of Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan. One of my favorite books of all time is Roald Dahl's Matilda. But also I read a lot of comic books too. I'd watch movies, I'd watch television, anywhere I could find stories. That's what really excited me. And in terms of, what leads to success, I think just loving stories and loving what I'm doing and loving the chance to write stories and share them with readers and talk to them about my favorite books and they tell me about their favorite books, and that to me is so rewarding and wonderful that I can never imagine doing anything but this. Well, I usually get all of my ideas for characters, for worlds, from stories, all from the same place. And I should say every character is kind of based on me, which is to say anytime they're really nice or smart, I'm basing them on wishful thinking. But every time they do something mean or bad, I'm kind of basing that on who I am when I'm feeling grumpy. But all of my ideas really start with drawings. I used to be an artist. My mother's a painter. I used to want to be a comic book artist, and I still, every single day, I draw. And actually, here's a copy of my current journal. I have about 30 of these. They're filled cover to cover in my office, and I draw little pictures anytime I'm just coming up with ideas and jotting things down. You guys are actually seeing top secret pictures from my brand new book that hasn't come out yet. And so when I draw, I just kind of put down anything that's a little bit funny or a little bit strange. And so in the case of The Night Gardener, I drew a picture of a girl whose name was Molly. She had curly hair, and she'd woken up in the middle of the night, and there was this sound of footsteps moving over her, and she was in a room that was dark and full of wind, and there were dry leaves flying everywhere. And I didn't know why. I was just doodling a picture, but I knew that whatever those footsteps were, they were very, very bad. And that was where the whole story of The Night Gardener came from, was that first picture that I doodled in my journal. Well, I mentioned before that I'm a giant fan of Roald Dahl's Matilda. That was actually the first kind of long book I ever read when I was a kid. I was 8 years old and I bought it from a school book fair and I read it all by myself and I was so proud. To this day, Roald Dahl is my favorite writer, and if I could sit down with anyone, I would love to sit down and talk to Roald Dahl. I think the most important advice, and maybe the advice I wish someone had given me when I was growing up, is I loved telling stories. I drew pictures all the time. I tried to write stories, but there was one piece of the puzzle missing, and that was, for a couple of years of my life, I struggled to read. I knew how to read, but I didn't enjoy it very much, and it felt like work, and so I didn't read very much. And I would always, think, oh, I love to write and I love to tell stories, but nothing would really come. And it wasn't until I got a little older and I realized, hey, if I want to write books, maybe I should start reading them more. And it wasn't until I became a serious reader that I finally understood what was missing in the puzzle for me. So my advice would be, if you want to be a writer, first thing you have to do, the only thing, or the most important thing you have to do, is be a reader.